Keep playing.
Welcome back to another episode of Eagles Weekly. Here are your hosts, Brett, Haas, Mac, and Jeff.
Oh, man.
How we feeling, fellas?
How am I even going to... Okay. I'm going to try and tweet this thing out.
The three people that are watching are like, what am I looking at right now? All right, welcome back to Eagles Weekly, episode 10. I'm one of your hosts, Brett Ryder, joined today by international marketing guru Mac Hutchinson and our ACC athlete, Jack Cyberlick. No Haas tonight. I think he's like in Europe or something. We talked earlier.
Nice. I love it.
Yeah, so he's doing the damn thing. Thank you, everyone who is here live watching. I'm on my cell phone. The boys had a weekend a couple weeks ago. Hoops on the Harbor. Me and Jack went back to Martin Artesta's apartment. I left my laptop there, and I don't have a laptop, so I'm on my phone right now.
You didn't take the laptop to Spooky Town?
Spooky World.
Spooky World?
Sorry.
Spooky World, and no, I did not. Yeah, see, that's the other thing. And Mac, I'll let you chime in here. I got made fun of. For
I saw some of the chatter. on
It's just
X.
banter. It's all
Just
good
banter,
fun.
just friendly banter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jack and Marty. They roast. I mean, credit to them. They fucking roast.
Wait, Brett, just get
really
this
good.
to get it straight though. You were on a date, or someone was on a date here?
No, one of my boys. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
well, the thing was, we went back to Marty's apartment in Seaport to watch the Mets game, and then Marty and I were like, oh, let's go out and Southie after the game, and then Brett was like, no, I'm going to Spooky Town in New Hampshire with the group of people. I'm getting an Uber right now or whatever you're doing. So it's all good fun. All good fun.
It was definitely fun for all. Hand up. I got shredded. It was good. It was good roasting. I can appreciate a good roast. I got roasted. Poor Jack I'm surprised. I was a little worried about Jack. I almost didn't go. I was a little nervous for his well-being. The egregious BC football loss followed by his Phillies, losing.
Yeah, that was a tough
right.
back.
My condolences, Jack. My condolences. Yeah.
Tough weekend. Yeah.
Brutal.
I was a little worried about. How do I look, by the way? The camera look good.
Just gonna say the Eagles Daily shirt. Again,
Eagles
shout
Daily.
out Eagles Shop. Looked really good, Brett. Just saying.
Thank you. Yeah, Eagles Shop. Go buy some merch, please. Season's not over. Season's just begun. The monster's still being built, so let's not give up yet.
Facts. It did take a hit, though. It did take a hit, so we do got to talk a little bit. About that. A little bit.
We got elephant in the room time.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. For sure.
Yep. Yes.
I guess I'll start it off though, because I think it was a great. I mean, you never want a loss, but we're just talking about this off air. How if you were to lose, with the coach Bill O'Brien, and really about accountability, it's probably the best time. And I feel like from the fans' perspective, we were, it's a little reality check, which might be kind of good for the team and the fans and everyone involved. But I will take the positive. I tweeted this out after the game, and I think I still believe it a week later. But I think the defense honestly had a really solid game. I know 24 unanswered points is something that, no one wants to see. But the defense honestly only gave up one touchdown the entire game. And that was after a short field because of an interception by the offense. So to me, they played solid. I think, looking into the rest of the season, I'm excited about the defense. I believe in Tim Lewis's scheme and all that. Now, the concerns fully for me stand on the offense. I mean, to go up 14-0 and not to be able to score the entire second half, and then it's not like they weren't driving or anything. It's just the silly mistakes. I think that's where this conversation should go, to be honest. I think for me, that loss completely falls on the offense.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I always hope. I agree, Mac. That's a big reality check. I would have hoped the reality check came against Michigan State when they had the bad first half, or when you squeak out a 1-point win against West Kentucky.
Right.
But you know, I guess hopefully this is what it takes to really get their heads on straight to where they're operating the way they were against we saw week one against FSU, that kind of offense. And yeah, like you said, the defense looked good. I thought it really seemed to be like a sort of bend but never break kind of defense, which I mean,
for sure.
I mean, it's not great to allow teams to like be marching down the field, but if you keep them out of the end zone, like I think BC has like one of the lowest red zone touchdown rates or whatever that statistic is in the country, which is it's a good thing. So yeah, they only give that one touchdown. The scoop and score from the offense did not help for sure. But yeah, I mean the mistakes in the second half really from the offense was what did them in. It did seem like the first drive when they just marched down the field, score 7 pretty easily. That looked fantastic. They looked sharp. I do worry that like they're you always like I'm sure like coaches always like they kind of script their first drives like the first drive of the game. So I'm worried that they're struggling to make like sort of adjustments to the defense's adjustments, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so like you said, Mac, that loss is definitely on the offense, the lack of execution, especially in the second half.
Well, it's funny too because especially like I spoke last week or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, about them starting fast, which they did, but they didn't finish strong, which they did the previous 2 weeks.
They just can't they just can't get 60 minutes of.
They cannot get
football.
60 minutes of just complete. Yeah, and like that, I feel like that for me is probably the most concerning thing. I know, last year's team, they struggled mightily with starting fast. They had UVA in a close game. They had UConn in a close game. They had a lot of close games, especially in their wins. That was their big thing is that they couldn't start the games fast. This year they kind of fell back into that trend the past couple of weeks, but then, here we are. I think the trend for them is that they just can't put together a full 60 minutes like Jack said. That's probably the most concerning thing of it all. You talk about whether it's, defense, offense, turnovers, play call. When you look at like the entire thing, it's just, when you look at it from like a bird's eye view, like that's the problem. They can't put it together.
Yeah, you nailed it, Brett. It's the full 60 minutes. And I think I was kicking myself because at the beginning of the game, I had this like really bad intrusive thought where I was like, man, this whole week we've been talking about first half, coming out strong. I'll be like, wouldn't it be crazy if like they come out strong for the first time and then they just kind of fall apart? Because like the last couple games,
that would be crazy for sure.
And I was like the last couple games, like as much as people are like they're concerned about the coming out like slow, but I was like, we still pulled off the win. Like it's like way worse if like you come out strong and then don't like end up collapsing, and that's exactly what happened. And so that was super frustrating. And the other frustrating thing was like, Tommy, started like perfect. I think it was like 11 for 11.
Yeah, 11 for 11. It was honestly halftime before his first completion.
It was just so frustrating on so many levels though, because even the 3 turnovers in the second half, like one was so like a bizarre play, like went off his hands and then it fell into like that first interception into the Virginia defense's hands. And then that third pick at the very end, I mean, that's just Tommy trying to make a play. So like honestly, like 2 of those, I'm like, okay, one really wasn't his fault. The other one is like, they're trying to come back down 10, like, kind of just like he had to do what he had to do. So it's like, I don't put too much on. That's just why it was so frustrating. Whereas like the offense was moving. They just like couldn't execute. And I don't know. I guess the only takeaway really is like, yeah, they're gonna have to put the full 60 minutes. And for me, the most positive thing I can take out of it is, all right, Tim Lewis's, bend don't break. Like we used to hear that all with Halfley. At least Tim Lewis's is actually true, right? He actually doesn't break at the end. Like, and I know everyone in the comments were like, hey, we had all these third and longs and like they converted and everything. It's like at the end of the day, only giving up, a touchdown and some field goals is going to win you games in the ACC. So, this falls in the offense and they just didn't do their job.
Yeah, it's tough, especially what's it called? So the scoop and score touchdown, was that an interception? Was that the second interception?
That was Tommy going back and fumbling the ball.
That was the fumble.
Looked like a throw. He was like coming back, and then they scooped and scored that. Yeah,
I forgot who it was.
Yeah,
I forgot who it was, but there was someone we were with, and when that happened, he just like stood up and walked out.
Well, that made it 10-point game. Like we had just like gone down 3 and got the ball back, and I just all of a sudden it was a 10-point game.
Yeah, then it was over. Like that was the play.
Yeah, wind out of the sails totally. So
I was ready to jump in the harbor at that point. That was done.
Yeah.
Wait, that's the third turnover though. So that's why I'm saying like all 2 of those turnovers were fluky as hell, and then the last one was just Tommy kind of throwing it up at the end. So it's like,
I wouldn't call that fumble turnover fluky though. Like that was him kind of being a little like
holding on the ball a little too much.
Yeah, and he ran out of the pocket. Was a little careless with it, and it was just kind of like wonky, But I wouldn't say that was like a fluky play. I would say he was being careless,
That's probably the one that's the most on him to me, for me at least.
And I would say that's another like him trying to do too much, which we've seen in the past. When we'll throw the ball downfield, or the Missouri game when he was again, and like I don't mind that from I would rather my quarterback try to do too much and fail than to be too timid and not do things like that. So I'm not going to hold that
you think it comes
against him, but
you think it comes down to
more careful.
The play calling again? I mean, we've been kind of critiquing this
yeah,
slightly for the last couple of weeks with Will Lawing's, play calls. But Jack, you tweeted during the game, like, run the ball. Like, what are we doing? Like some of these, what do you think with the play calling? Because I think that was suspicious and not like you're saying, oh, Tommy's doing too much. Like, he's doing a lot, especially towards the end of the game when we weren't putting up any points. But it seemed to me that, they still haven't figured out the identity of this offense. And it's like they're trying to force some things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was going to talk about this. Like, I think a lot of the reason Tommy feels like he's trying to force all these things, trying to do too much, is like they're not generating anything in the run game. Like, I think I think I have it here. Like, they went 29 carries for 65 yards all game. So when you look at that, you'll say like they're not running the ball very well. But then you see Turbo Richard, who all of a sudden is running back 1, who has 9 carries for 51 yards. So something there was working. The run game it did look like it was working, but like I said, I mean, Tommy's thrown the ball 30 times. He's improved immensely as a passer, but that's not how this team is going to win a lot of football games. I think if you're relying on Tommy to throw the ball 30, 40 times, we saw against Florida State, they have to establish a run game, and it's looking more and more like that performance against Florida State was more a product of Florida State just being like grossly overrated, like having a grossly overrated front 7.
Yeah.
Because I mean, frankly, they haven't run the ball well in a few games, honestly.
Yeah, and to your point too, not only should he not be throwing the ball 30 times a game, but when it's down in like the 15 to 20 range, and then maybe you make up for that with a couple designed runs in there, like that's more effective. Like that's the Tommy that was successful last year. He's not a pocket passer. Let's be real. I know that Bill's been working with him trying to make him a better passer, but at the end of the day, he's a dual threat quarterback. Like he runs, like he uses his legs. His legs set up his throws,
Right.
So when he's out there and he's chucking the ball 30 times a game, it's not going to be successful, and he's going to have a lot of those turnovers, and they're maddening too, right? Like even look at the first half. Like he threw the ball, 11 straight completions, but they were good. They were good passes. They were good throws. Then he starts trying to do too much. Maybe he was like feeling himself. Maybe he got a little too high on himself in the moment. I don't really know, but the fact that this is what the third straight week that they've just straight up just abandoned the run game, especially they had the lead in the second half. It's not like they were down like the Missouri game. Like they were winning. They were
14 up, 14. Yeah.
14-0. So like, why wouldn't you just continue running the ball, which is supposed to be your strength, bleeding the clock? Like these are the calls, and this is like, I try to stay away from overall critiquing play calling and coaches and things like that, specifically because when it comes to when it's like being an armchair quarterback, right? It's like, of course, or a GM. It's like, of course, like anyone has an opinion. Anyone can see from a high level, like, oh, like that was stupid. But at the same time, when you're seeing it week after week, and it's like these are the same issues or critiques that we're having week after week, it's like there's got to be some sort of like objective truth to that. Like, is there not? Like, maybe there isn't. Maybe we are just three bozos. I don't know. But I have a feeling we're probably onto something, along with like the rest of the people, whether it's on Twitter or just the fan base in general, who are all basically saying the same thing.
I mean, we're bozos as far as our picks last week. We all were wrong. But again, how do you lose a game up 14? It just felt like it was a shocking loss. They shouldn't have lost that game. They played well enough to win. They have a good enough team to win. That they're a better team. It felt like they just didn't execute, on offense. Yeah, that's the thing I can take away. And as far as the play calls go, I don't know what the solution is. It seems to me that you got to get Tommy. Like, yeah, you got him involved throwing 11 for 11. It's almost like they focused so hard on getting him comfortable in the throwing game that he wasn't comfortable in the running game. And then it's like it took him out mentally, like being like, okay, check down, his natural check down, which is to run. They're training him to be the natural check down for him to like be, to throw it. And I think that's just not who he is. And I think you kind of saw that where, maybe he needs to get that first hit too. Like quarterbacks, they almost need to get that first hit to kind of be like, oh, I'm in the game. And with Tommy's, kind of sort of play, he's such a physical quarterback. It's almost like you might need to get, in that first series just to get him have him run down the middle, just get hit, just so he's in the game. Because it seems to me like he needs to be woken up on all the facets of his game. Like let Tommy be Tommy. And I think we need to get back to that, I guess, at the end of the day.
I mean, how many rushing yards does he have on the season? Like, I mean, through 6 games, I'm trying to pull it up now. I think he has. I mean, his throwing numbers look great. He has almost 1,000 yards, 12 touchdowns, only 4 picks, obviously 2 of which came last game. But I'm trying to pull up his. I know someone posted a stat like him and Robichaux have only combined for 300 rushing yards on the season, which is pretty tough.
Oh yeah, that's pretty brutal.
Yeah, through 6 games, he has 53 carries for 103 rushing yards. So for a guy that rushed for whatever it was, 1,100, 1,200 yards last season, like, you understand it's a complete change in, offensive philosophy, but that's just like his production, like running the ball is just like falling off a cliff. I mean, I get they're taking out of the offense a little bit, but you just assume that that's just like an element of the game that would only serve to open up the passing game a little bit more. And obviously, they're finding themselves getting a little bit like in over their heads, it seems like, with some of the decisions, especially late in games, that Tommy's been making. So yeah, really, it'll be interesting to see that coming off the bye if they do try to find that a little bit more balance there, because it seems to like it would suit Tommy a little bit more than it has so far this season.
I'm looking at the stats now. I forgot. I mean, they had 65 yards on the ground Boston College had 65 yards on the ground again.
29 carries, yeah.
And
-9 from Tommy.
Tommy had
sack yards.
wait.
Yeah.
By the way, he had -9 yards on 10 carries. Tommy did. So, man, I have a lot. I mean, I'm glad they had. Glad they had 10 days because we only have a couple left until Virginia Tech, and I think
it's a great segue, Mac.
Yeah, Virginia Tech. Time to move on.
Move on. Yeah.
Thank you, Jack. I love that. That's what I was thinking. Not only we turn the page, we got Brian from Boundary Corner Podcast joining us today. To talk a little bit about Virginia Tech and kind of give our listeners a little bit more insight into them. What's going on, Brian?
Hey, Brian, how we doing?
Hey, how we doing tonight?
Great to have you, Brian.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Always glad to chop up, talk a little college football, talk a little Hokies, little friendly rivalry here. So
yeah,
love it.
Ready to do it, man.
I love that you feel like it's a rivalry. Sometimes our rivals don't always feel the same way.
About us. We're glad that this is mutual.
You know, as much as I was probably like, you know, I don't necessarily think that we should be playing BC every year. I mean, you still got those Big East roots, and it's still an important game to kind of look at and talk about. So it's still one that we kind of keep on the map for sure.
Good.
Love it.
That's how we've always felt too, and it's it's good to be able to get a win down in Blacksburg. We haven't since 2018. I guess kind of speaking on you guys, I know you guys came up here last year, ended our 5-game winning streak in dramatic fashion, really running us out of our own stadium. What are some things, I guess, from your perspective that like BC fans should know in terms of, what's your guys' culture? What kind of team are you this year? Offensively, defensively, like what makes you guys run?
Yeah, I think we're starting to find our direction a little bit, especially on offense. This is kind of the second year in a row that we feel like we had some pretty good talent on the team. Especially this year, a lot of returning guys, and came out and not really finding an identity, especially on the offensive side of the ball at the start of the year. It's kind of the opposite of kind of what you guys have experienced, where you came out a little hot and kind of cooled off a little bit. We've kind of been a little bit of the opposite. First month, couple wins, couple losses, a couple of those in dramatic fashion against teams that we kind of thought we, at least on paper, were better than. And then, you go down, you had that heartbreaker against Miami, and then you turn around and, play what you feel is probably your first really good 4 quarters of football against Stanford. So we're feeling pretty good about where we are identity-wise. I feel like we started to lean back more into the strengths of Kyron Jones and Bashal Tuden running the football, running the offense through what they do with their legs and letting that open up what we do in the passing game, because we do have these really good receiving threats, but we have a shaky offensive line, especially in drop back situations. So when we get into those kind of predictable drop back situations, that's when we can get a little bit of trouble. So we love to stay ahead of the sticks, get some good first and second down plays in there, and then let Kyron do what he does best, which is get outside the pocket, throw it on the run, make something out of nothing, and really let Bashal Tuden cook as much as he can, because that dude is a tackle breaking machine in the backfield.
Yeah, sure.
Ryan, you mentioned you mentioned Miami. I'm gonna have to ask you about the end of that game and what your thoughts are. But kind of overall, like, I'm looking at the schedule. I personally think you guys should have won that game. You deserve to get that call. That was a ridiculous call at the end of that game. I'm looking at you thinking, okay, Virginia Tech, they could easily be, 5-1. They also could be undefeated, with that overtime loss to Vanderbilt. Do you kind of look at the team the same way? Like, this is a very good team. This is one of the best, teams in the last couple of years. And then also, just if you could chime in on that Miami call at the end of the game, that was such a thriller.
Yeah, I'll start with kind of how we felt about the first month of the season. I think we were frustrated because we saw how close those games are. We kind of have gotten a feel of, unfortunately, how, what prize record is in 1-score games, and how a lot of times, you can look back on some coaching decisions and a couple, questionable calls and be like, well, that could have been a win.
Right.
But we really felt like for most of the first month, we didn't play our best football for 4 quarters. We had some really good moments in games, but we never really had any great games. And it wasn't really until that Miami game where the offense started to put things together, and then we saw a complete team performance against Stanford. So that was some encouraging signs because it kind of showed what we can be and what we do look like at our best. So I'm seeing some positive trends there, and that's why it's a little bit frustrating when you look back. It's like, okay, we're probably one or two better coaching decisions from being potentially undefeated.
Right.
And then, you look at the Miami game with that call, there was a lot of things in that game where we could have potentially put them away before and not have that game come down to a Hail Mary situation. So, you got to look at yourself in the mirror a little bit there, but you also got to look at what happened on the field. And what happened on the field, in my opinion, is our receiver comes down with it. Once he's down on the ground, Miami pokes the ball out. Calling the field was a catch. It should have stayed a catch. I don't think there was anything. I don't think there was anything there that could have said it was definitively not a catch.
Yeah, you can't overturn that.
And I would have had less of a problem if the call on the field was incomplete because I don't think any of the angles gave us a definitive answer of that.
Mm-hmm.
But it was called a catch on the field. This is the bowl game against Michigan all over again with Danny Cole and catching it, diving down the sideline there at the end of the game there. So another frustrating thing, especially against a team like Miami that is a historical rival for our school as well.
But Jack, before I let Jack hop in there, though, just a follow up on the end of that game and that call. Do you think, when we talk about the ACC and the college football playoff, and obviously Miami being like a top ranked team in the ACC, and that call being sent to Charlotte to be decided, do you think that influenced that call at the end of the game clearly to maybe put that was some of the talk that day? I wanted to get your take on that.
Man, I hate being a tinfoil hat guy because I'm absolutely not that guy. But
I got you. I respect that.
There's in that room, there's a Miami official. So he was in that room. You also have the ACC that I think in general would prefer to protect the teams that they feel are at the top of their boat there in terms of college football playoff, especially when you have the potential to get 2 teams in.
Yep.
You still got to protect Miami, and at this point, you got to try to protect Clemson. So, I don't know, man. Like I said, I hate being that guy that has the tinfoil hat on, but there was certainly some
validity to it.
questionable things that were made there, and you could definitely see where the case could be made.
Gotcha, man. Thank you.
Making a lot of sense, Brian. Brian, I did want to ask you about. You said you guys kind of the past 3-4 weeks, you've kind of found a bit of more of an identity. So I did want to ask. You guys are back in Lane Stadium for the first time in 4 weeks. You guys are kind of you found your identity, run the ball using Chiron outside the pocket. But I did want to ask if Virginia Tech comes out of Lane Stadium and they losing to BC, what do you think would be the 2 or 3 reasons why that might happen? What chinks in the armor do you think you could foresee that BC might take advantage of?
Yeah, I think it's 2 things. I think if BC's defense is able to keep us behind the sticks on first and second down, if we're in a lot of drop back situations, if we have a true weakness on offense, it's going to be our offensive line. Very inconsistent play, especially in pass protection. We have a left tackle that is very, very good, and we have a right tackle that leaves a whole lot to be desired. And it shows up on tape a lot, especially in those drop back situations. When we flip it to the other side of the ball, getting off the field on third down. If you go back and look at the tape against Rutgers, you go back and look at the tape against Vanderbilt, and even parts of the Miami game in the second half, it's getting off the field on those money downs. We didn't do it very well in those games. And particularly if you look at the Vandy game, I mean, that was just death by 1,000 cuts for 4 quarters. And it was frustrating to watch because especially the first half when your offense wasn't doing anything, it's like, man, this is going to be painful for the next, 30, 40, 50 minutes, whatever it was at that point in time. And so that would be the recipe, I think. If you can stay consistent on third down, keep our offense off there, and do a good job against first down of not letting us have those positive plays that get us a little bit deeper into our playbook and let us do the things we like to do on offense.
So you talked about Bashal. What are some other players, and you can talk about him a little bit as well. I guess like a couple of highlighted players from offense, a defense player or two that BC fans should kind of keep an eye on.
Yeah, I mean, y'all know about Bashal, so we don't have to say anything about that.
I can't. It's like just sticking a knife in his listening, especially what he did last year, man.
Yeah, so obviously, I mean, he's a tackle breaking machine. He does it all. He's really good in the kick return game when we put him out there. We obviously put him out there a little bit less this year than we did last year, just to kind of protect him a little bit more. But when he's out there on kick return, he is deadly. Really great vision, really good outside the tackles, and again, like I said, a tackle breaking machine. So he kind of does a little bit of everything for us, and kind of hides some of that. Some of those weaknesses we have in our offensive line just because he does usually make the first guy miss and usually goes forward for positive yards even when we don't block it the best. Looking outside, I mean, we've got Jalen Lane is probably our biggest threat in the receiving game, primarily running out of the slot position. Big play guy. He's definitely the alpha in that room. And he's a guy that we also use in punt return as well. So he's got playmaking ability in the punt return game as well as being our leading receiver at this point. Looking at, playmakers, obviously you got to start with number one, QB1, Kyron Jones. I mean, it runs through him. He has probably been a little more uneven, I think, than we expected this year, but some of that I think was that lack of identity. And I think the staff was trying to take a couple steps a little bit faster in his development than I think he was ready for. We came out with a little bit more of those drop back looks early in the season. And now that we've kind of leaned back into more of our scheme that we ran primarily last season, especially the last 2 months of the season, it's looked a lot better and he's gotten a lot more comfortable, and he's more comfortable early in games, which I think is important because when he's playing confident, you can't really touch him a whole lot. And I think that's really been important for us the last few games. Flipping it over to the other side of the ball, we've got a top 5 in the country sack leader in Antoine Powell-Ryland. So we're going to be coming after your quarterback. And the guys across the rest of the defensive line are no slouch either. You got Aeneas Peebles that transferred in from Duke, all conference last year. Really good player for us so far. Kelvin Gilliam that transferred in from Oklahoma. Guy that we didn't necessarily anticipate being the frontline guy coming in, and kind of really came in and just took that spot. And so he's doing well on the interior there with Peebles. And then you got Cole Nelson and Keyshawn Burgos outside on the opposite side of APR that can also get after the passer pretty well. So up front, we're pretty strong. Probably where we're still figuring things out is linebacker and safety. That's we're really young at safety, and we're really kind of finding who fits where at linebacker, and we're starting to get there, but we're not quite a fully polished product at this point.
Yeah, Brian, I was just about to kind of ask you about that because I was looking at the Stanford game. And you guys, obviously dominated that game, and your defensive line seems to be very solid. I was just kind of wondering, for offenses that are trying to attack your defense, what is the biggest weakness, and what do you think would be the best strategy as far as what you've seen to be the most successful against Virginia Tech's defense? I mean, it seems like you just kind of talked about the secondary seems to be improving. So would you say, as far as, has there been a certain scheme that you've seen your defense that, kind of struggle with?
Yeah, I think we kind of struggle with teams that can get to the edge consistently. We've got 2 really good cornerbacks. Probably arguably two of the best with Dorian Strong leading the way there. Mansour Delane, also very solid cornerback. Again, it's safety that we are very inexperienced. We've got, our primary players are a wide receiver transition that's in his second year playing the position. We've got a true sophomore, and then we've got a couple true freshmen working in there. So this is a very inexperienced unit, but they're a unit that has really grown a lot faster than we thought, mainly because our primary starting safety has been out since the first game of the season.
Oh, okay.
Jalen Stroman's been injured, and we may not see him the rest of the year. So, we got real young, real fast behind him, and they're learning on the job pretty well. I'm pretty satisfied with how they've held up, all things considered there. Because it was an area of concern even before Strobin went down at the start of the season. So the fact that we haven't had a ton of big plays surrendered like we had at parts of last year, kind of is a credit to what they've been able to do so far. I think the biggest position that we're kind of still a work in progress is that will linebacker position. We've rotated about 3 or 4 guys into the starting lineup there throughout the year so far. Still trying to figure that out. But we've had some guys come on the last couple of weeks, and we've started to kind of solidify that a little bit. But yeah, if you can get to the edge and kind of attack us in the alleys there, that's probably where our weakness is, just because we are still young at safety, young at outside linebacker. And occasionally that's something that we can see some lapses.
Are there any other notable injuries that we should be aware of, Brian, just while you're on that note?
Yeah, so Ali Jennings, he was a transfer wide receiver in last year, had a really catastrophic injury against Purdue, and he's been out. He was out all of last year after that game, and he's really been not himself since then, kind of banged up a lot. Started the year, had a good game out the gate, and then got a little nicked up here or there and hasn't really seen a ton of action since then. He hasn't really missed any game. He's dressed every game. He's at least seen a snap or two here or there, but he's not somebody that we've had lined up out there consistently. Mostly as a decoy at this point. He hasn't really had an impact on a ton of games at this point. And then we have a outside linebacker, Kelly Lawson. He's one of the wills that we've rotated in there. He's been a little nicked up. Our starting guard, Laith Ganem, he started the year at guard. He's kind of slid into the second team at this point. Some of that injury, some of that play. And he's probably not going to be going in this game. And then the last one is going to be Nick Gallo, our tight end. We haven't really played with him all season. He had an injury in the bowl game last year, and he's just starting to kind of work his way back into things right now. So I'm not sure if he's going to play in this game. This is probably the closest he will come to playing at this point. So he's going to be kind of a game time decision, I imagine.
Yeah, Brian. I just wanted to ask my last question, one last kind of thing about the you mentioned about finding your identity, but then kind of like the outlook of kind of the fan base, how they feel about the team now. Look at the schedule to finish the season. You got BC, Georgia Tech, Syracuse coming up, 3 teams that Virginia Tech should have a pretty good chance against. What's kind of the feeling around the fan base right now? Like you said, you found your identity. Is it more, do you feel you're building something coming to the second half of the season where you can finish with a 7, 8, 9 wins, or what's kind of the general vibe, I guess, of the VT fan base right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to vary depending on who you talk about at this point. I think there's some people that are still shell shocked by the first month of the season. And then there are some people that look at that schedule and say we're favored in every game except for Clemson going down the way, and we got them at home. So, I think it really kind of runs the gamut. I'm probably somewhere in the middle. I definitely hated surrendering, a couple of those losses. Miami, it is what it is. I hate the call, but it wasn't one I necessarily had marked in the W column at the start of the season.
Yeah.
I can't say the same thing about Vanderbilt or Rutgers. So it's frustrating. If you at least go 1-1 in those games, you feel a little bit better about still getting to 9 wins in the back half of this schedule, which I think puts us right on schedule as far as, taking some steps. We got 7 last year, including the bowl win. You want to see at least 8 or 9 this year, I think, to kind of show that the ship's going in the right direction. That's a good sell for recruits. That's a good sell for the fan base. So the first month didn't necessarily inspire confidence there. So I think they've won some folks back onto the hype train a little bit, but I think it's still a mixed bag depending on who you speak with. And I feel confident that if the same team that showed up the last 2 games we played shows up the rest of the year, we'll at least get to 8. I feel pretty confident about that. If we see the team that came out the first month of the season, we could be scraping into a bowl. So it really kind of just depends on which team shows up. And like I said, hopefully we keep seeing that consistency in play that we've seen the last couple of weeks, and having the team play 4 quarters of football that they're happy to put their name on.
Before we let you go, and I really appreciate you hopping on to begin with. You mentioned 8 or 9 wins, and I don't remember what that's like to even. I don't remember, but that sounds great. I mean, that must be fun. What's kind of your guys' perception on BC? A little insecure right now, so please be nice. Coming off that loss last week wasn't ideal, but what's kind of like your guys' perception? Do you guys look at us like a threat? Is this a win that you're marking on your calendar already? Like, what's kind of the view of Boston College?
I think the view of Boston College is in a lot of ways similar to what we had with Rutgers, but from a different play style. Well-coached team, expecting guys that can make plays in certain parts of the game, especially the quarterback with their legs, and a game that at least on paper from a talent perspective, we look better, but it's a game that you can't go out there and look past, because again, they're well coached, they've got playmakers. So you got to go out there and take care of business. And that's kind of where we see it. I think as our fan base as a whole. I think if you asked us 3 weeks ago, we would be scared shitless of BC. And I think, the last few games have kind of level set things a little bit. I think we still consider you guys a very big threat, but I think we like our chances, if that makes sense.
It sure does. And I appreciate you taking a more diplomatic Brian, thank you for hopping on. I really appreciate it. Why don't you kind of let everyone know where they can find your work?
Yeah. We you can visit our website. It's boundarycornervt.com. That links you everywhere that we are at. We've got some written articles out there written by our contributor Miranda Wilhelm. Some fun stuff out there. We do our podcast. It's a weekly show. We like to go long, guys. It's a 90-minute show most weeks. So we do recaps, we do previews, we do picks. We have a lot of fun. It's a laid back atmosphere. So go check us out if you want to find out how the other guys live on the VT side.
That's awesome. Thanks so much, Brian. This was a pleasure.
Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thank you, man. Good luck this weekend too.
Yeah, y'all too.
You don't need it.
Oh man, dude, we just are like 100% perfect on getting guests to come on the show. By the way,
like nice guests too, like great guests,
super solid, awesome people.
He was very nice about how he talks about BC, but I kind of get the feeling that they're not super worried about.
They're not worried about
the game on Thursday.
They're still like, oh yeah, we respect them, but little brother,
I see it in his eyes.
Yeah.
He called this arrival. That meant a lot.
That was nice. That was nice of him. Yeah.
Hey. He didn't have to do that.
Yeah, we got to keep the Big East. We got to keep the Big East together. That's how I feel about it. But,
all right.
No, but he was super spot on in that, like 3 weeks ago. Like I don't know if I would have like marked a night game in Lane Stadium down as like a definite win, but like I felt way better about this game than
I liked our chances 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, then
He-
fast forward, we're
Yeah.
7-point underdogs or whatever. So
No, he nailed that take though, where it's like a couple weeks ago we were looking fantastic. They were kind of looking like slippery, and then that kind of switch. You know what I mean? Where it's like,
yeah,
we kind of fell down, and they just have looked like solid. Even their loss to Miami. I mean, they're surging.
I'm pretty sure they were winning that game by like 10 points in the fourth quarter or something, or like in the second half or something. So like
They look-
they had that
yeah.
game to win.
Yeah, they
even
did.
without the blown call for sure.
They did.
Yeah.
Um,
They truly did. Yeah.
They sure did. Shout out my boy Tavis, by the way. I see he's in the comments. I love you, Tavis. Tav's a Cal guy. He's an ACC guy.
Hey, I love it.
BC boy,
Yeah.
BC by 10 this weekend.
Love that. He said Cal
Yeah.
was up 20 in the fourth quarter. That Miami wins a week.
Miami is looking a little fraudulent, I'd say, just a little bit, but they're not beating the like the ACC scandal at all. For
Dude,
sure.
I
if I was a Virginia Tech fan, I'd be furious about that review.
Yeah.
Me too. I was definitely feeling the whole like when they showed that view of them like in Charlotte looking at the video, I'm like, this is not gonna go Virginia Tech's way. Like,
No, that was so stupid. That was a freaking catch, but
Yeah, man.
Well, I when I watched it live, like I didn't see like the super slow mo videos like afterwards, but like I just like I don't know if it was a catch or not a catch. I just like literally couldn't tell. So my view on it was just like the call in the field should stand because like
yeah, that's why I
I
think
didn't see it, like
watching.
anything like nothing from the I don't know what they saw from the replay that like confirmed or went against like their what they call on the field. Like so it was just ridiculous that they
The same thing
in the first place.
Same thing Brian said. It was like if they called it incomplete on the field, then I feel like I should have stayed incomplete.
Yeah, it is what it is. Yeah,
right, exactly.
Overturning it's crazy.
Sponsorship time.
Sponsorship time.
Yeah.
Sponsorship brought to you by Bigelow Tea.
You got this, Brett. You got this.
Ready? And we're back.
And we're back.
All right.
I have I haven't done it yet. I have like a promo code for home field.
Shout it out.
I feel like
Yeah,
I
shout
should
it
be doing
shout it out to the
doing that.
250 people watching.
Shout it out. I was just repping it. I have it in the other room right now, but that dope.
Homefield.com for all your college game day apparel, specifically Boston College. They have bomber jackets. I mean, what are those things called? Windbreakers? Windbreakers.
Yeah.
They got tees. 15% off your first order. Use promo code BRider15. That's
BRider15.
Homefield.com. BRider15. 15% off. Go get a bomber jacket. That bomber jacket's fire, by the way.
Tell them to send us more merch, Brett. We'll wear it on the pod. Let's go.
Yeah, we will. We need home field merch and Bigelow Tea. Do we have any update on the Bigelow Tea business development? Anyone on that? No.
Not me.
No,
I think it might be Haas.
I think Haas is on it, but I get my team on that. I love that. They're killing it.
We need a fucking intern, dude. That's what we need. We need interns.
Yeah.
We need to get interns.
I'll give you a T-shirt. Come aboard.
And if you complete the Bigelow Tea sale, I'll give you 2 T-shirts. Ooh. You can choose.
Oh man. Yo, Brian was awesome. I feel like I'm less confident about this game, but
I'm worried.
That was good insight, I guess.
I'm worried.
I
I don't like that it's Thursday night either. I mean, it's straight that it's coming off a bye.
Is it a standalone game? Is it gonna be on national TV?
I mean,
think
this
so,
is what
yeah.
Blacksburg's made
Sure
for,
is.
right? A Thursday night game, enter Sandman at night, everyone watching. Like this is their whole thing, you know?
Yeah, it sure is, bud. You hit the nail on the head with that.
It's like, I think Blacksburg on an off night with everyone watching, that's not worth 3 points. That's worth 7 points. Aren't we down 7 points on the spread?
We sure
Yeah.
are.
I think that makes sense. Like, I don't know. What do you guys think about the spread? And kind of just general take going into this.
I'm gonna need a Jack pep talk at some point.
Yeah, I don't know if I have it in me this week. I was surprised. I thought it was gonna be like 9 points. Honestly, given how their last two games, like they dominate Stanford, they take Miami down to the wire, and we're kind of like, I don't
Yeah.
want to say we're on the decline. We're only halfway through the season, but we've had a couple tough weeks. Given the atmosphere that Lane Stadium is especially on an off night, Thursday night. 7 points. It means some people in Vegas still believe that BC has something there, and I do too. I don't want it to seem like I'm jumping ship, but yeah, I feel if I was a betting man, I might take an alternate spread there for
Not in
BC.
Massachusetts, you're not. You could bet where you're in New York, actually.
Yeah, I'm in New York City right now.
Yeah, Jackson NYC, East
Might
Side.
take that.
Let's go.
No, but yeah, so I was a little bit surprised the spread wasn't more in Virginia Tech's favor, but take that.
Mhm.
But yeah, I agree with you guys said that definitely more nervous after talking to Brian a little bit about it.
Anyone ever been to Virginia Tech?
Nah. I should have asked Brian about that though, because
You should have. Did you ask him about 07 when I
no, I felt he was too nice of a guy. I didn't want to do it to him. I wasn't gonna bring up 07. I didn't deserve. We don't deserve to bring that up yet. But I think
I would have did it.
we have a lot of. I know we have a lot of
yeah.
alumni going down to this game though. Have you guys haven't gone? I that's something.
I've never been. Couple guys I'm friends with. They went in 2022, which was a tough game. Bad game. I think. Yeah, not great.
It's been really bad. I think since 07, since Matt Ryan. Like,
yeah,
it's not been a good place.
Okay, we got 2018.
Did we win in 2018, Brett?
They were really shitty though.
That was like the really down year, right?
Yeah, and that's what set up College Game Day, because I'm pretty sure we were 7-2 after that.
Yeah, we felt good about ourselves, and then
good times.
Yeah, we had that little
good
run.
Times. It was It was 6 years ago.
It is crazy how perceptions change after one week. It was a bad loss. I mean, we were 14-0, led 24 straight. Man, if we won that game, we were 5-1 going to Lane Stadium. That would be fucking awesome. And instead, we're preparing for a potential 4-4.
Start
here. So
like a windfall. Yeah,
it's funny.
I agree.
It's funny you say that, Jack, because I was just thinking how, okay, the beginning of the year, we're thinking this is a really tough schedule. And then we get that really nice start, and then we say, this schedule's super easy. Look how easy the schedule is. And then we lose last week, and now we're back to, this schedule's tough. So it's like...
Yeah, now we're back to seeing where,
Right.
Seeing which game could we maybe, have a...
Dude, I've gone from we're winning out and making the college football playoff to I'm really trying not to kill myself on a week-to-week basis now. So that's where we're at.
I'll tell you what, guys. I do have to bounce, so I don't want to hold you guys up. But I do want to give my prediction for this week.
Yeah,
please.
Jack. So I know I said I was surprised by the spread, but we did have a bye week. We did have time with the best coaches in the ACC to really fix some issues, get guys healthy. So from that standpoint, I know we're 7-point dogs. My prediction for this week is that the Eagles march into Lane Stadium. I think it's a bit of a defensive battle. I think our defense bends, doesn't break.
Say
I
it.
think our offense, I think our offense probably shows some struggle, but I think it's going to be a close game in the fourth quarter. And I think my prediction is going to be BC 24, Virginia Tech 21. I think BC wins.
Ooh.
5-2 going to Louisville. That's my final prediction.
Let's
Oh,
go.
cover
Let's
and
go.
win by Jack.
I like that. Yeah,
Oh.
I'm going positive. Normally I'm a bit on the negative side of this podcast, but I'm going positive this week. So
Clip that
So
and
it's-
send it to Coach
yeah.
Blackman.
yeah, tell Blackman, tell him I believe. Tell him I
I'm
still
sure that-
believe.
I'm sure that will.
Yeah.
All right, Jack. I love that.
Thank
Take.
you, Jack.
Damn,
All
that
right,
was
guys.
uplifting. Thanks for that,
Tell,
bud.
tell
Of
the
course.
girlfriend I said hello and have a good time while you're there.
I'll tell her. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks,
All
guys.
right.
See
I'll
you, Jack.
later, brother.
Have a good one.
Yo, he
Jack,
stole my fun. He stole my thunder.
Yeah,
because
dude. Now I'm like rethinking that Jack. Oh man. Oh shoot.
I was hoping that you guys are gonna be negative Nancy's. I was gonna come in positive Paul and rip a 24-21 score myself. I don't know how that looks for the graphic. Can't have two. Can't have
Are you still thinking this over? Are you still thinking this over, Brett?
You got something for me or no?
Let's talk about a few things first. So I'd say like I like as my brain's still thinking about it. I'll say I think one thing I am confident about is I think our defense is going to have another solid game. I think they've been the most consistent thing this year.
Mhm.
I enjoy Tim Lewis's scheme. I know it can be frustrating because he's not, where he's not sending. I think people want to see Donovan be let loose and like them blitz in half the time. But
I got
honestly,
no criticism.
I honestly think that he's being really smart about this. I don't think we have the talent yet to do everything that he wants to do. I think
Mhm.
he's like, hey, I'm not giving up over the top. We're not giving up touchdowns, 60, 80-yard touchdowns. Like,
Mhm.
we're going to make them earn it. We're going to,
Earn it.
they might be able to take what they can get, but like at the end of the day, we're going to shut them down in the red zone. And he's been
Mhm.
consistent at that. And he's getting the guys to execute that. I think that's going to be another thing. It's just going to be huge on the road. And they've been tested on the road already. We saw that in Florida State. We even saw them being able to battle pretty consistently at Mizzou. So
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I think defense will be solid. I think this is going to be a close game. Again, the offense is the biggest concern. I'd say for them to win, Tommy's going to have a game. He's going to have to make some plays. I do think that you might have to just let him loose. I think this is the Tommy game. I think this is the Tommy be Tommy, not only for him. I mean, not only for the fans to be like, hey, Tommy's back and all this. I think, but for Tommy, I think he lost a bit of confidence against Virginia. I mean, I think it's been like 3 weeks now where they've been struggling to put a full game together. And I think, when that happens, you just got to go back to basics. I think you just got to be like, there's too much talent there with his legs and him, playing, Tommy football. That we just got to go back to Tommy football. I don't know. What do you think, Brett? That's kind of my feeling going into this, and we're close to game day here.
We're dangerously close, yeah. Well, it's like, you talk about getting back to Tommy football, using his legs, and that just coincides with they need to run the fucking ball a lot more. Excuse my language, but I just feel very passionate about that, right? Like,
Run the damn ball.
where has that gone? And like, why are they not doing it? Like, those are my questions. Is it like a skill thing? I don't know. What are they seeing? What are they not seeing? So, like, for me, it's definitely like get back to that, get back to being like a predominant rushing team, and let the passing game open up to you, like, kind of after.
Right. I agree. I don't think we have to be Adazio and run it 40 times a game, but we can't be just slinging it the first like couple series without getting that ground game going. I think there needs to be. I mean, they talk about balance. Where's that balance been at the beginning? Like, even though they went up 14-0, it wasn't a balanced offense, right? Tommy came out great, 11 for 11 throwing, but that running game never got solidified in that first half, and then you kind of saw that, you know, then when their defense was like, okay, this is what they're doing, there was no adjustments either. I think also at the beginning of the year, because when Bill O'Brien first came in, he was doing the whole NFL philosophy of, hey, this is my personnel. I'm not going to get too far away from it. We're not there yet. I just got here. But now I think further in the season, he's thinking, okay, I've been here. We're doing well. We've been winning games. Let me try to do more of what I want to do. And I think maybe reel that back a little bit more. Maybe I think, okay, maybe we need to stay with the personnel, what we got here. Don't be too greedy, because the last 3 games we haven't been putting together a solid performance.
Keep like the current philosophy.
Right.
Or the previous philosophy that's work. Like, don't try and change it now because it's just not.
Yeah.
Working. Okay. So, what are you thinking?
You know what? I think Jack's right. I think we said. I mean, I believe I've said this in the past. I think Bill O'Brien's one of the best coaches in the ACC. I think objectively, I'm saying that way too early, but that's based on what I've seen at practice, based on what I've seen so far this season. You know, he's gotten this team to perform higher than, you know, their expectations. They're still 4-2. We're halfway through the season here. You know, if you ask anyone at the beginning of the year, hey, they're going to start 4-2, I think anyone would take that. So clearly, he's come in here with a short off season and doubt what he's going to do. I expect the same thing to be in the second half to be true. And I think, you know, a 7-point dog on the road in Blacksburg to me is like kind of like in a neutral field. My brain, this is more of a toss-up game. I think they're going to be able to do enough on offense. I think the defense is going to be solid. And this is going to be such a close one, and it's going to be more low scoring than I think. I think it's going to be like somewhere like 21-20. Boston College pulls it out. It's going to be a fourth quarter game. It's going to come down to defensive play at the end, and you know, where the chance with Virginia Tech to win and go up, you know, win on a field goal. And I think the defense is going to make a play.
31-21. BC.
10-point win?
10-point win. Listen.
Right.
Listen. If you want to win 8 or 9 games, you have to win these games, right? Like, you have to steal a game that you're probably not supposed to win. Or even if it's like a toss-up game, like, you have to win a couple of those. This is a nuts on the table game, for lack of, I hate that term, but that's what this game is, right? Like, this is like, put your money where your mouth is. Are you a good team or are you a 6-6 team? Right? Like, are you good or are you great? Like, nah, are you okay or are you good? We're not great yet. Could be great. We'll see. If we win this week, I'll go back to the fantasy land. But for this week, let's stay rooted in a slight reality. Not reality, because I'm giving them a 10-point win when they're 7-point underdogs. Alas.
Have a little Delulu, Brett. Come on. A little Delulu.
I just think that, like, this is the type of game where it's like, we haven't seen them win a game like this in a long time. Like, a game that they probably shouldn't win.
Yeah.
We saw plenty of a couple weeks ago losses. We saw a lot of those. But, like, how do you respond now? Because you're looking at, we talked about it off air, like, you're looking at falling to 4-4 realistically if you lose this game.
It's a tough schedule based on the last game. And I think you're thinking, I mean, if we look at the rest of the season, like, I agree. I think we are in a good position. We're 4-2. We talked about this, I think, in our group text, where I don't think at this point, going 6-6, even though we've said at the beginning of the year, I think that's a solid, you know, first year under Bill O'Brien. I think based on starting the season, how you started, 6-6 would be, you know, considered, you know, a loss. Like,
it's 2-4.
2-4 in the second half, right? You have to, at the very least,
2-5.
you know, go 500. You got to at least go 3-3, and man, that's very difficult if you lose this first game against Virginia Tech. So this is a must win. I think that, like the way you're putting it out there, Brett. It's like you got to get to that, at least 7-5 mark at the end of the year. That looks good. I mean, if you're able to finally get to 7 wins with a chance to go, get that 8th win in a bowl in your first year, short off season, Bill O'Brien, that's so much momentum. But if you do worse than that, like you lose that momentum, you lose that feel like Bill O'Brien is building this monster and there's all the confidence in the world there.
Yeah.
Obviously that's going to be the reaction, whether that's just or not, because I think at the end of the day, the fans should give him 4 years to do what he's got to do. But that is, the reality. So you got to go 500 here. You got to beat Virginia Tech. And I think, at the end of the day, this offense is going to have to put a solid game together and not fall flat like they've been doing either in the first half or the second half. You can't afford for an entire half to just not show up, And I think Jack said it. This is one of the best coaches in the ACC. I agree. You just gave him a very long week. These guys are focused. I think they're engaged. They're going to pull off the win.
Bad week to be a Hokie.
Bad week to be a Hokie. Because Lane Stadium, I think Lane Stadium goes silent at some point in this game. The defense makes a huge play.
We're fucking winning this game, dude. We're fucking better. We better win this game. I'm so sick
Here's
of it.
one.
I was set. Yeah, big one Thursday. I was upset on Saturday. 2 Saturdays ago.
Dude. I mean, it took us a week to get back on this pod. By the way, I think we were all like feeling the hurt of that one.
I think so. Yeah.
It was pain. It wasn't just painful. It was kind of shocking. You know what I mean? Like, I had all the confidence in the world that game, and then to go up 14-0. I'm like sitting back. I'm like, dude, we're like, you know what I mean?
I was chilling.
Yeah.
I was eating nachos or something, slider. I forget what I was eating, but I was eating, chilling, drinking a Celsius, texting my friends. I was hanging. It was a nice day out.
Yeah, it was a great day.
It was
great
in Boston.
Yeah,
Greatest city in the world.
Greatest city in the world.
The vibes were unbelievable.
Yeah, it was a great weekend. That's what hurt too. It was like a great weekend. The weather was perfect. I mean, it doesn't get better in October in New England. The vibes were immaculate. We're going friends and family were in town for me. And then just to have that loss, I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna block that one out. That makes just no sense. I don't know how we lost that game. And maybe that's it. Maybe I think maybe there's a little overreaction as far as I think there was overreaction, obviously, immediately that game among our fans. But I think, going into this game, it's a tough one. What's frustrating is that at the beginning of the year, you're like, okay, a couple games in, we're going to know this team. Okay, after this game, we're going to know this team. After this game, we're going to understand the offense. We're going to see the identity. We're going to understand the scheme. I only feel that about Tim Lewis's defense. I don't know where we are at all on offense. It's crazy because we had that was the opposite last year. Our offense was Tommy football. We understood our identity. And then to go 6 games into the season and to not understand at all on offense what our identity is, we haven't been able to be solid and consistent on that front is super frustrating because you're like, man, we did the hard part. We got this defense to buy into Tim Lewis's scheme. They've been consistent. They've not been giving up touchdowns. They're keeping us in every game with an opportunity to win. And there's just been a complete collapse on the last 3 games on some part of the offense.
Identity crisis. That's what episode 10 is going to be called.
Yeah. But hey, man, we got to play Thursday, Lane Stadium again. All eyes on BC. Is it the fourth time we're saying this? All eyes on BC. Yeah.
Primetime team, America's team.
America's team, man.
Listen, people are taking notice.
And one of the coolest things in college football, I mean, Enter Sandman. That's going to be fun to watch.
I was like really trying to go during the summer. I was talking about going.
I know we really should have went, Brett. Too much going on right now.
I had way too much going on.
Yeah.
My friend Caitlin, who's not even she's not even like a football fan, but she like sent me Enter Sandman a couple weeks ago.
Hey,
I was like, shut up, dude.
yeah, but then you're like watching. You're sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of like
It's like-
the. Yeah.
It's like it's not even that cool. It's fucking sick. Trying to like downplay it. Be like,
Yeah.
It's not that. It's kind of
It's like-
whack. It's kind of whack if you think about it.
Yeah. 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 Sure. Yeah. In that one video, you're like, this is awesome, man.
I would love to experience that.
Oh, dude.
I guess that's it. Good
Eagles Weekly.
episode.
Eagles Weekly. You know,
Eagles Weekly.
we did it. We got through the bye week, Brett.
Barely.
Barely. We're holding on here.
I think we're gonna be all right.
I think we're gonna be all right too.
Ask me Thursday night.
Thursday night,
Based on the result, we'll see.
7:30 p.m. ESPN. Hey guys, 2007. All you hardcore BC football fans. Matty Ice.
What
You
grade
know.
were you in?
Dude, I think I was in high school.
Yeah, I was a senior.
I think I was a senior, high school. Dude, I mean, talk about the craziest year in college football, 2007. I believe, like, I think
USF was number 2. Like,
Previous-
before us.
I believe 2007, for the previous 5 weeks before that Virginia Tech game, the number 2 team went down. And then we were like the last number 2 team. Because again, in that 2007 game against Virginia Tech, it was a Thursday night. BC was ranked 2, Virginia Tech was ranked 8th.
Yeah.
And BC ended up winning that. It was the first time a number 2 didn't go down in like the last, like, that's how crazy that college football was in 2007. It's like every week the number 2 team went down.
Yeah.
And BC was like the first time. And they were down, of course, 10-0 with like 3 minutes left. Whoever doesn't know what I'm talking about right now, go to YouTube right now
Yeah.
and watch the last 7 minutes of that game. Matt Ryan was down 10-0 to Virginia Tech in 2007. Incredible, touchdown pass. And then Aponavicius, one of my favorite BC players ever, walk on, leading point scorer, by the way, in BC football history, get the onside kick. And then we go, and then the rest is history. Lane
Andre
Stadium,
Calendar in the back of the end zone.
incredible.
Unreal.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
One of the best Boston sports moments, and we've had a lot, Brett, haven't we?
What was that, 17 years ago?
Yeah, we need another one.
I couldn't even like smoke.
No, we were like 17. I was 17, I think, at the time. Or 16.
Yeah,
17.
I was 17, I think. Yeah. I think I just turned 17 or something. It's fucked up. It's fucked up if you think about it. It's been a long time since we were like good. I'd like to do that again.
Now, can we just? I think with Bill O'Brien, I mean that's the monster. I think that when I talk about the monster that Bill O'Brien's building, I think that's what I'm talking about. I think that's when you had Tom O'Brien, coaching, and then those couple years with Jagodzinski, where they're consistently winning 8, 9, 10 win. Like that, I think is the bar. And I think Bill O'Brien could get us there. I have all the confidence in the world. Do you still have that feeling? I mean, I think to not have that feeling is an overreaction. That's what I think.
I think that this year before last week, I kind of just thought we were ahead of schedule, and I was pleasantly surprised. And now it's kind of like, oh, okay, like we were just kind of foolish to think so. You can't jump off the proverbial bandwagon now just because they lost the game that BC's been losing for the last 15 years. Like the thing is too, it's like they do still have that like mediocre DNA in them. It's like from Adazio to Halfley. They're working on shaking it, but they just haven't been able to successfully rid themselves of it quite yet. It's going to take some time. I think I mean, I shouldn't say me was foolish to think that we were going to go 11-1.
Hey, Brett, the path's still there. It's
Yeah.
not both ways, man. But yeah, I think there's a long road to go, and you need to get to. Can we just get to 7 wins in the regular season? I think that's the big. Let's get there first. That's the first step.
I'd like to be like a Louisville. I'd like to be them. Being Louisville sounds fun. Like a good team sounds great. I'd like that.
I think my dream. I mean, I think the dream and the what's possible is just have. I think BC can be the 5th New England team. I really do. We have the Patriots, we have the Bruins, we have the Celtics, we have the Red Sox. I think a clear number 5 team that is in the mix within those 5, and I think that's so possible. I think
it's definitely possible.
I think Bill O'Brien's the exact guy to make that happen. Where like it's just a normal thing. Like, oh yeah, you go on the Pats game on Sunday, or you go on the BC game on Saturday. Like that needs to be a thing, and I think that so can be. And I think that's my biggest thing. I think, you kind of had that when BC was winning consistently. And I think...
Yeah, we've seen it. That's the thing. We've seen it.
People love college football.
We lived it.
It's a massive thing. And now to take advantage with, like, the NIL and the transfer portal and the conference reliance, like, there's such a... It's like now or never type of thing with that. And I think there's such a huge... it's a massive market. It's one of the best, if not the best, sports markets in the world. Is Boston. So like this is so very doable, and it starts with winning Thursday.
We've literally seen it before. It's not like this is like a farce. Like we've lived it, It's we didn't hear stories. We've seen it.
Man.
It's like we grew up, you were a BC fan, It wasn't like you were a Red Sox fan and you were a BC. I mean, I was a Red Sox fan and I was a BC fan. Like,
same, yeah.
Of course. And everyone in the neighborhood was too.
That should be the norm. That should be the norm. It's the only Power 4, team in New England. That's the norm, and it's the same thing with that's how it needs to be. And and that was back in the day, man. That was back, and the same thing with Flutie. Same thing with Matty Ice. So.
And same thing with Tommy. All right. I feel like that was good final thoughts. Do you have anything else? I think we just emptied the clip on that one. Excuse me, emptied the chamber. That was aggressive.
Yeah, man. I just everyone watch Thursday. I think it's gonna be a fun game. Let Tommy be Tommy. I hope that's what they kind of worked on the last 13 days until this game. We have like 2 more. We have like 48 hours until this game Thursday night, and let's get back to the basics. Let's get a W. Like, who cares? Let's get a W. Let's get back on track. 5-2 is so possible, and doesn't that sound great? 5-2, man. Going back home,
Friday Night Lights.
Friday Night Lights.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was episode 10.
Episode 10.
In the books. Remember last week I did that long sign off? That was so fucking crazy. I never did that before. I was like, I'm Brett Ryder. They're like, yeah, we fucking know who you are.
EaglesWeekly.com. Subscribe on YouTube.
I don't know why I did that. All right. Episode 10 in the books. Thank you to Brian for hopping on. Thank you to everyone who listened. I'm Brett Ryder. Go Eagles.
Go Eagles.